There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Oh, what's up? Welcome into this postgame pod edition of the Program Guys podcast, the last postgame pod of 2023. Thank you for joining us. Mesa Prince, Matt Gann, Mark Hall joining you to break down this Oklahoma 38-24 loss to Arizona in the Alamo Bowl. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, please subscribe to the channel. Helps us out more than you know. Costs you $0 to subscribe to the channel, in case you were wondering. You know, you can also follow us on all of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at Program Guys with a Z. That's how you can find us. Gentlemen, Oklahoma loses 38-24. Your opening thoughts. We'll start with you, Matt.
I'm a sad boy this morning. You know, I went to sleep last night and I was thinking to myself, where do we go from here? It was a very disappointment in how the game, I think, overall was played. Definitely some pros, definitely some cons. I know we'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's ruined my whole 2024. I'll tell you that. Yeah, and we haven't even started yet. So
that's tough. We're recording this on a Friday morning. In case you're wondering, we're, as of this moment, 11 hours post game.
Basically.
For me, it was really just the ebbs and flows of the game, like from being down 13-0 to being up to 14-13, scoring 24 unanswered points, and then just completely the wheels fall off. And it was so weird. The turnovers are going to be talked about a lot, and I got a lot of like talking points that I want to get to, so I don't want to get to them now. But Mark, what are your opening thoughts as well?
Yeah, Gann woke up sad and distraught. I slept like a baby last night. I think that there are a lot of positives to take out of last night, and no team was ever broken by a loss in the Alamo Bowl. Like, this is not consequential. There was not a game to play after this. The things that we are able to glean from it, which is, you know, admittedly sometimes very little, but those are the things that I'm more interested in than the goofiest day turnover wise I've ever seen an Oklahoma team have.
Yeah.
And look, cards on the table. If it was a regular season game, I'd be in a different place right now. But if you can't separate a little bit from the results of a goofy bowl game, you know, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah. I think this is kind of where I wanted to start. So before we get into it, because from here on out, I'm going to be like sad boy, kind of like Matt, and not happy with the performance. But I want to start with this. If you would have told me, once again, we play this game all the time, right? If you would have told me in August, this team finishes the season 10-3, I would have been like, you know what? Okay, that's fine with me. You were 6-7 the year before. We came into this season, guys, talking about improvement. We want to see improvement. We want to see the program heading in the right direction. And folks, I got news for you. If you watched that game and you thought, wow, Jackson Arnold, so many turnovers, like, fam, he balled out. He looked really, really good. Did he look like a true freshman at time making his first start? Absolutely he did. And that's what's going to happen. Every quarterback looks that way during their first start at some point or another. That's what's going to happen. But he threw for like 350 yards. He ran the ball well at times when he needed to. And there's a lot of behind an offensive line that was makeshift at best, right? It was not ideal.
Are we getting into it, baby? Are we getting into it,
baby? I mean, we
start with the offense, baby. Let's start with the offense.
We're going to start with the offense just because we're here. But that's just I feel like that's where we need to start, is just Jackson Arnold, because he performed so well. The turnovers are going to stick out. Six turnovers. I tweeted it out last night. Inexcusable, indefensible, no matter who's your quarterback, who's playing, who's on the field, what game it is, point blank period. That's not acceptable. You take a grand look, like a 30,000 foot view of it, though. You look at Jackson Arnold's stats, you look at how he played behind the offensive line that he played against, how those turnovers kind of happened at times, and you kind of shrug and you're like, I mean, yeah, that sucked, but I don't think this game's on one person, and it's definitely not on Jackson Arnold. I don't want to put all the blame on Jaleel Farouk either. But it was, I mean, those Jaleel Farouk turnovers, man, were hurtful.
Massive.
Were hurt. Both
Yeah.
of them inside the 20-yard line. It just, you just, man, it's tough. All right, I'm
So,
done.
On the offense, I looked at the play-by-play last night after the game. And so we get the ball for the first time in the first quarter at 10:57. And from there, the drives go interception, punt, interception.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang. And I think you can say those interceptions are on Jackson. That's just
those ones, yes.
That's speed of the game in real time catching up to him where practice, probably hasn't. Or what's more likely is he's thrown that interception 1,000 times in practice because it's safe. You're supposed to be trying stuff in practice, right?
Yeah.
From there, we get the ball again. Second quarter, 13:05 left. Touchdown, the Jaleel fumble, but then touchdown, field goal. All of that through the third quarter. It isn't until 21 seconds left in the third quarter that Jaleel Farouk fumbles again within the 20, and the fourth quarter becomes a disaster. But during that 27-minute stretch between 13:05 and 21 seconds left in the third quarter, the line holds up. Better than any of us could have possibly expected. Jackson looks like a freaking point guard back there. The
Really
point
does.
god back there. And you know who he keeps finding? His freaking power forward, Nick Anderson. That was beautiful. Between Nick and Drake during that stretch, the game was awesome. And we didn't run the ball enough, but other than that, everything was flowing. And if you looked at Jackson as any other position on the field, we would say it was a wonderful game no matter what. But a quarterback has to touch the ball every single play.
Yeah.
And so there's just more chance for disaster. And we saw that early, and then we definitely saw it late with the fumble and the weird catch that jumps up in the air, incomplete, intercepted. That's not on him either. But
Yeah.
it's a tale of, like you said earlier, Mason, these ebbs and flows. And I think everything that we saw during the ebb was very good. And those flows, we still got to break down.
Yeah. Matt?
The Jackson Arnold error started last night, and it could have been more of a disastrous start in that first quarter, throwing 2 picks and definitely on him. But 4 turnovers total. I mean, the fumble was on him too, late in the game, holding it a little bit too long and not having ball security. So 4 turnovers on the night. I get it. Maybe 2 of them not on him in particular, but the way he bounced back, I think, was the most impressive thing. From that second quarter, third quarter stretch that Mark just talked about. I mean, he was throwing darts down the field. I mean, that second half touchdown, second play of the second half, that strike to Brennan Thompson, which is what we've wanted all year. That's why we brought him in, that speed to break the top off the defense. I mean, absolutely in stride, maybe a half a stride back, but a beautiful dart down the throat. And that's what we've been wanting to see, is that cannon, that accuracy that Jackson Arnold was recruited for. So couldn't have asked, obviously, for a worse start in the first quarter, but it could have got worse from there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the way he bounced back and the offense was able to bounce back. Hey, let's give our credit to the offensive line, especially Gavin Sawchuk as well. I mean, they had no outside containment. I mean, he could go run the outside all day long and showed that burst of speed. I mean, he went for 15 for 134 and a touchdown. And again, that's behind the offensive line that has not played together, having Troy Everett start at center and some of these other guys come in and play who probably haven't played all year, like Caleb Schaefer and some of those guys. So good for the offensive line to come together during those 15 practices. And Jackson Arnold has the potential. I think we saw that last night. Yeah, did he make some mistakes? Sure. I think that's going to happen to any true freshman quarterback who hasn't started a game the entire year. But the potential is there. And I obviously feel very excited heading into the SEC from what I saw last night. Again, disappointment we didn't win, especially going up the way we did. And I think what really got me was in the third quarter, we were up by 2 scores. We got a false start or some kind of 1st and 15. We bring in Tyree Rocker and then we run 2 straight times. What are we doing?
Why no, that was perplexing.
I know. Well, I was thinking to myself, here it is. This is the moment the wheels fall off. And we get to a 3rd and 15, obvious passing situation, and we have to punt it back, and that's where Arizona obviously takes it from there. So selective play calling has been the issue all year. Conservative play calling when we're up. It just doesn't make sense. Why are we not pressing on the gas and letting Jackson Arnold do what he did in that second quarter stretch?
Yeah.
But all in all, really excited for what I saw from him last night. And obviously disappointment OU didn't get the win.
So the offensive line, we can touch on them a little bit. Matt brought up a good point about how long they held up. And I thought they did hold up very well at times because, look, Jackson in his first game had a lot of time to throw at times, like a lot of time. And people are going to cite the 7 holding penalties. And yeah, that's rough. You can't do that. But also, Jackson's holding the ball back there for like 6-7 seconds at a time. You cannot ask your offensive line to block that long. At some point, that's a freshman not going through his process. He's quick enough. Like Mark mentioned, the game was too fast for him at times. He can't break down the defense. He can't do all of that. It's just moving too fast. So he's holding the ball and he's waiting for guys to get open in the second window and stuff like that. And the offensive line, no matter who they are, you can't do that. It's hard. Somebody's going to hold at some point. And a lot of those holding penalties came as Jackson moved outside of the pocket and the offensive line is trying to give him a little bit more time. That's how it happened. So yeah, I think the offensive line is going to get some flack and they deserve so, but also Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley. Let's talk about the run game, right? Like at one point in the fourth quarter, you were out rushing Arizona like 170 to like 30. And they just like stopped running the ball. And they just stopped. And it was like Jeff Lebby was back up there or something. I don't understand what was going on. Anybody have an answer to that? Because I don't.
I want to hit on the offensive line real
go
fast.
Yeah.
I think that the holding penalties looked to me like a bunch of dudes who had been told, you do not let them touch this quarterback.
Yeah.
This guy is glass back there. You do whatever it takes to keep them from laying a hand on him. That's what it looked like, because it would be, like you're saying, Mason, times where Jackson's trying to step away, and I don't think a guy really needs to hold there, and they're just holding on a second longer than they really legally can. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like maybe different motivations for this game, even from the offensive line on that point. I thought the Seth Luttrell, formula was kind of goofy all game, and felt like we were passing more than we needed to. We absolutely should have run the ball more. Like Matt said, Gavin Sawchuk goes 15 for 134? Is that the number? 15 for 134. And looks like the most fluid runner on the field when he's got the opportunity to. And he only gets 15. I'm not really sure why that is the game plan with a freshman quarterback. I understand that Jackson's capable of putting the game on his shoulders. We saw that to some degree last night, but the only thing I can think with that is it goes back to the offensive line as well. Maybe they felt like this group was more comfortable or more capable in pass pro than just churning downfield against a largely intact Arizona defense. Maybe, but I'm almost just sort of speculating at that point. Matt, what do you think?
It could have been, but you have to also know that they were still running Jeff Levy's offense last night. Seth Luttrell even came up and said there wasn't enough time to implement an entire new scheme, lingo, communication. So they kept with the Levy playbook, right? And that's what it really felt like last night, right? There was times where we were stepping on the gas pedal when we got up by a couple of scores, and all of a sudden we just go to running the football right up the middle with Tyree Walker for 2 yards, giving the ball back. And then also some of the design QB runs just didn't make sense at the timing as well. So again, came back to situational play calling, became too conservative at the wrong time when we should have easily been up. And again, this is going against 3 to 4 or 5 turnovers. We still have the lead, and yet we're still not pressing on the gas to get up by more. Because if we would have scored on any one of those other possessions in the third quarter, I think it would have been out of reach. But for what we did in 15 practices with the offensive line, bringing in Jackson Arnold. The potential is there. I mean, he was making every throw you could ask for. I mean, that throw to Nick Anderson in the back corner on the run going against his body, that is insane. I mean, there's not a lot of quarterbacks that can make that throw on that spot, on that dime. So you saw a little bit of everything from Jackson Arnold. Love the potential. I think there was just times where he could have took some of the yards in front of him. He was waiting too long, like you said, Mason, holding the ball. That led to more holding calls. And then I think there's just time he just needs to take what's in front of him, get a couple yards, go on to the next play. But I think you loved everything you saw. Turnovers are going to happen. I think those will also be cleaned up as we head in the SEC. But can't complain too much about the offensive line, running game, and what Jackson Arnold showed us.
I think from a running game, from a Jackson running perspective, what we saw last night is he's a guy who can absolutely run a read option, right? He's someone who can break contain here and there when it's advantageous. But I think it's a time to officially call the Jack offense, specifically when we just line him up with the intention of running him straight ahead. That's the Jack offense now, because we're jerking around and not getting anywhere. And I cannot deal with it anymore. That is the dumbest shit in the world. We did it earlier in the season, and I cannot believe that it made a return in crucial moments last night. He's not Tim Tebow.
No.
He's not Cam Newton. He's not Jalen Hurts.
No.
He's 18 and has a better arm than every one of those guys has shown in college.
Yeah.
That might have been too much. I might have gone too far there. I think I did. I want to retract it.
No. But I
love Jackson, but let's see a little bit more than we've seen so far.
Go ahead.
It's just dumb. Go ahead.
This is the last thing I have on the offense, and then I want to try to get to the defense because there's some stuff to talk about with them as well. But Jackson looked at his best when he was running the ball. It was off schedule running, so not designed runs. When Jackson's moving out of the pocket, decides to run the ball, that's when he looked at his best running the ball. When he looked at his best passing the ball, everyone's going to cite the Brennan Thompson touchdown. That's fine. How many other deep balls did he hit? Right, and it wasn't for lack of trying. I think the best that Jackson looked was, I think it was in the second quarter, that quick hitting to Nick Anderson, like on 3 or 4 straight hitches because Arizona's bailing out, trying not to get beat deep. That's the kind of growth you want to see. That's 1, 2, 3, it's out. 1, 2, 3, it's out. And let your guys go do something. And shout out to Nick Anderson. He had 7 catches, 73 yards. Brennan Thompson, the leading receiver with the 63-yarder, obviously. But Drake Stoops, 6 catches for 82. And can we just say, I hate that that's how Drake Stoops' career ends at Oklahoma. That sucks. But I thought that's the best that Jackson looked. And he was poised back there. His feet were steady. I was impressed. I was impressed with that part of the offense.
Totally agree. You could tell that they got to a stretch where they knew what he was comfortable reading from the defense, and you knew he was comfortable going to Nick Anderson every single time if that's what they were giving him. And it's like I said earlier, he looked like a point guard doing it to me. He'd get the ball and get it where it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Matt?
Yeah, the only last thing, and I do have a question for you guys. And before I get there, I think Jalil Farouk, we hit it, but probably had the worst game I've ever seen a wide receiver have. And that's really tough, right? I mean, I know was projected to be our number 1 guy. Antoine Anthony comes in. He ends up being the guy for the beginning of the year, gets hurt. Jalil needs to step up. And then to end the season the way he did, those fumbles, especially in red zone territory. I mean, just think, those don't happen, or at least one of them doesn't happen. We end up getting a field goal or a score.
Yeah.
The game's over. So it's crazy how the momentum shifted so quickly, especially just one player fumbling the ball twice. Yeah. And we don't really know what his future is either. I don't know if he's come out and said what he's planning on doing. I'm not sure if you guys have seen anything, whether he's going to the draft, coming back, or I don't know, maybe hitting the portal. I wonder if anything will come out, because obviously we have a couple guys coming in, but I would love to have him back. We've seen what he can do, but he definitely wasn't the best receiver and obviously had a really tough game last night. So it'll be interesting to see what he does from here. Want to give a quick confidence check. What is our confidence on Jackson Arnold 10 being he is the guy, no problems whatsoever. 1 being he's definitely not. Where do you guys think you see yourselves on the confidence rating on what you saw from JA last night?
8.5.
Like a 13.
Yeah, fair enough.
Honestly, he real fast. I wrote this down. Last night, featured for the Oklahoma Sooners, a brand new offensive coordinator running an offense that is not his. It featured a 19-year-old quarterback who has never started at this level before, playing against one of the best defenses in their conference. It featured 3 new offensive linemen, 2 of whom really are not ready to play at this level of ball.
No.
We just know that.
Yeah.
And a youngin' in Jacob Sexton who cannot help but just grab jersey and hold on for dear life. And it featured 2 fumbles by a junior, like Matt said, who you should be able to entrust every single time with the ball. That's an anomaly, what happened with Jalil Farouk last night. And through all of that, Jackson Arnold was not the problem. A lot of things were the problem, and he made mistakes, no doubt about it. But I saw so much I'm so encouraged by moving forward with him. There's questions on the offensive line, right? You got to bring guys in. You got to develop dudes. Bill Beatenbog has to have a bench that can step up in these moments, because we saw at the end of the game, this one could not. There are issues and questions that need to be answered. But Jackson Arnold, man, 13 out of 10. Give it to me. Feed me.
Love it. Let us know down below in the comments. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just saying, I feel the same way, Mason. 8.5, 9. The ceiling is there. I mean, it's such a high potential for him. So I agree with you, Mark. Great points on that.
And the only reason I'm not higher is because, he's a true freshman, and shit can always happen, right? Like, shit can always happen. So but what I saw from him, I don't worry about him at all. He was the least of my worries last night. I was living with the interception and stuff. Yeah, Matt or Mark.
It's funny you said anything can happen, because the announcers last night were like, yeah, Jackson Arnold has done da, 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 da. The last Oklahoma freshman quarterback to do that was Rhett Bomar.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, anything can happen.
That's freaking nuts. Let us know down below in the comments what you thought of the Oklahoma offense against Arizona last night, and your season-ending thoughts of this 2023 version of the Oklahoma Sooners. All right, guys. We'll try to move a little quicker here, not tons, because we want to get to everything. But the Oklahoma defense against the Arizona offense, again, ebbs and flows, right? You allow 13 points on short fields, you're down 13-0. But then from then on, they felt really in control until the 4th quarter rolled around, and then the short field showed up again, right? The short field showed up again, and we weren't able to stop them. The highlights for me, good Lord. The highlights for me, Kip Lewis, number 1. Dude's a dog. Dude is a dog. I'm excited. Kendall Dolby, dog. A dog, man. I was super excited to see both of those guys. I thought our secondary struggled at times. And I don't think that's like I'm breaking news to anybody. But Woody Washington had a rough game to me, it felt like.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I thought Gentry actually played pretty well,
Yeah.
but we gave Woody the McMillan assignment, and that dude kind of cooked him all up and down the field. If that's Woody's last performance in an OU jersey, that's tough, because I think it might be his worst performance in an Oklahoma jersey. He got sunned.
Yeah, he did. But easily to me, Kip Lewis looked great. I wasn't really happy with the pass rush. Not a lot of PJ Adebawore.
You weren't? Hold on. I want to get after.
Go ahead.
I thought once they figured out we can attack that left tackle, there really took advantage of it. And then the 4th quarter, hey, we got beat. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But there were times there. I mean, Jaren Kanak showed off how good he is just running after the passer. He can shed a block like no one's business. Everyone was over. Rondell Bothroyd, the announcers pointed him out a bunch. And then, where has this Isaiah Coe been? Where was this Marcus Stripling?
Yeah.
We could have seen those guys all year long. I thought all of those guys played a good game after maybe that first quarter stretch where Arizona played well, but I do think that that first drive and then the second drive when they got the field goal after 12 plays, I thought our defense and even up front played well. We just couldn't blitz.
Mm-hmm.
That quarterback knows where to go with the ball every time you try to blitz.
Yeah. There was a third down in the fourth quarter that OU just had to have a stop, and they were confused. For whatever reason, you're confused. And Danny's pushing, I don't remember who it was, over to cover a dude who's going to be uncovered. On third down, he's going to be uncovered. Why are you confused? And then the ball goes right, and it's not Danny's fault, but the ball goes right over Danny's head, in between his arms, right into a wide open receiver. And you're just like, at that point, Matt talked about when he felt the wheels were off. That point was where I'm like, yeah, we're done. Like we're done. Go ahead, Matt. Your thoughts.
I'm actually really impressed how the defense played last night. I think excluding the first quarter is a really bend don't break mentality. We gave up a lot of yards to the quarterback, and give the credit to a true freshman quarterback for Arizona. Noah, I'm going to butcher his name.
Fafita
had a hell of a game. His pocket presence and awareness was incredible all night. But I think what OU really did was they made a lot of adjustments from that first quarter on. Isaiah Coe had a hell of a game. I feel like every single time they were getting in the backfield, OU had over 6+ sacks in this game. Isaiah Coe was one of the biggest contributors getting in that nose tackle or the center and causing a lot of disruptions. Mason, I don't know if you have the stats pulled up. Didn't we only give up like 50 rushing yards or less? I mean, I can't even remember.
Yeah, I can pull it up for us. 29 yards total.
29. I mean, every single run play, we were in the backfield. So OU not only had 6+ sacks, but I think they also had 10+ tackles for losses. So we were in their backfield all night long. I was actually very, very impressed by the pass rush and the rush defense. I think where they really got us was that intermediate throws over the middle. It seemed like every single time the zone, I don't know why OU cannot run a zone coverage and people cannot just figure it out. But man, every single time Trey McMillan would go into the middle, nobody's near him within 5 to 10 yards. And obviously he cooked us for, I think, 10+ receptions, 150 yards, something just ridiculous.
10 for 160. Yeah.
But the fact that OU really hunkered down it was really that stretch, Mark, that you mentioned from the second quarter to that third quarter where the offense was humming. So was the defense. I mean, they were getting us stops and getting in the backfield and giving OU the opportunity, the OU offense, who's put more points on the board. What really hurt them was the 6 turnovers, short fields turned into 21+ points for Arizona. That's where the defense really broke. And listen, the defense did everything they could last night to win us the game, and they actually did more. I think a lot of us expected Arizona to go in there and put up 40+ points, but what really happened was that there was none of those turnovers, or maybe only 1 or 2 of them. This was a much different game. I was actually very impressed with how the defense played, excluding that first quarter, especially with the offense, the skilled players that they had.
I really like that point because you can look at the scoring summary and it's like, oh, okay, cool. We fumbled and then they scored right after that.
Yeah.
Or we fumbled and then they scored on that return.
Yeah.
And there's 3 field goals in there. So the offense only earned really a couple touchdowns against our defense. And I think that's the takeaway, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there are 2 main takeaways. One, Woody might not be tall enough. That is just kind of true as you move forward into a league that's only going to be bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
And 2, the defense was ready.
Yeah.
We called on that, man. 15 practices with the opportunity to get healthy against a team. Look, Brent Venables versus Jed Fish. Give me our guy.
Mm-hmm.
Give me our guy. And it showed on the field.
Yeah.
The offense is what just... It's like you see the videos of a Tesla just exploding on the road, right? It's just like, oh, everything's smooth. It's perfect. Look how great this is. And then and the defense has to pick up the pieces. I thought they looked great when they were put in the opportunities to, or in the positions to look great. And there were so many times that the offense just let them down.
Yeah. I mean, again, 6 turnovers. Like no team is built to withstand that. I have it's funny. I have an old teacher who I'm still in contact with through social media. Shout out Mr. Klein. But we were talking on social media and he was like, usually 3 turnovers is like the kiss of death for any team. You double that, there's no reason you should have been in the game to begin with. And that's a credit to the defense, right? It's a credit to them and how they performed. I'm like to your point, Mark. If you come out of this game worried like, the OU defense doesn't have it, I don't really know what to tell you. It sounds like you weren't really watching and understanding the way the football works and all of that stuff. They got home 5 times for sacks, and I want to go back to my point where I talked about the pass rush. I feel like they got there 5 times, but they also missed 5. That's kind of what's stuck in my mind. Like and then when they missed, that's when they got hit to those intermediate throws that Matt talked about.
It's a good point.
So that's kind of just it's what poisons my mind and just what kind of sticks there for me. But man, I walk out of this game. You give me 20 more pounds on Kip Lewis, dude. That dude has All-American written all over him. That guy's a stud. That dude is effing good. Kendall Dolby, so excited.
Yeah.
So pumped.
This is first year for both of them.
Right? I know.
Well, I guess Kip was here last year, right? But this is Kendall Dolby's first year ever playing at this level.
Yeah.
And he just forces his way onto the field.
Yeah.
I thought, so one more, Peyton Bowen didn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like being young and not getting to play much on defense the back half of the season really affected his ability to just go out there and play ball.
Yeah. I think he made 1 tackle and I was like, oh, hey, there's Peyton.
Yeah.
And usually that's not how we associate Peyton with football. We're usually like Peyton effing Bowen doing Peyton effing Bowen things.
He's a magnet to special plays. And last night he just was not.
Yeah. Matt, anything else on the defense before we pick MVPs?
No, there's a lot to take away from. I think just as an overarching, I think there's a lot of positives I think we've hit on. Listen, we're all disappointed as OU's fans that we didn't get the bowl win, especially being up in that stretch that we played. Everyone's going to be disappointed about that. But there's a lot of things that we're going to take away from this game as we enter in to a new conference, a new year with new players, new offensive schemes, and defensive players coming in. I'm very excited for this team. It's going to be a tough year next year heading into the SEC, but there's a lot of positive things that I've taken from this game, even though in a loss.
I agree. Let us know down below in the comments your final thoughts on the 2023 version of the Oklahoma Sooners and your thoughts on the defense against Arizona. All right, we'll start with our MVPs of the game. Mark, who's your MVP of the game?
Real fast, one quick thing.
Yeah.
Because it's special teams. Can you retract a scholarship for Gavin Freeman?
Dude.
Is it possible that like when you give it to him that you can, because my goodness, dog, you're not a hurdler.
No.
You're not a hurdler.
I was watching
risky ball games by him last night.
I was watching, and when he tried to hurdle that, I out loud audibly, respectfully, while my wife was reading the Bible, so shout out to me, awful person, I said, what the F? I go, what the F is he doing? And it just, you see that and you're immediately like, that's the Patrick Ewing. Have you ever shot that shot before in your life? That's not your shot. Like, that's exactly what it felt like. And I'm like, dude, you're done.
He had 1 touchdown and he has been reaching so hard for another one. Every single opportunity since then. And it puts the team at risk every time.
And there was a punt that he was returning it was in the second half. And the announcer even goes, oh, looks like Gavin Freeman's going to have some room to return this one. And he fair caught it. And the dude's like 10 yards away from him. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, if you're going to like do something.
Announcers were also terrible. I don't know why we got the F list. We're supposed to be the best game of the day.
Yeah. It was the highest ranked bowl matchup outside of the New Year's Six. That's just weird. Okay. Special teams, Matt, anything to add?
I thought the punter was hitting some bombs last night.
He should have been the punter all year. Should have been the punter all year.
Yeah, Luke Azinga, I don't know if he's coming. I think he's coming back. He's got some more eligibility. I think he played had some bombs last night for sure.
Yep.
And I'm not sure we've said enough about how good Noah Fafita was. just before we do it.
He was very good.
He played very, very well, even though I do think our defense kept them in check during that wonderful mid-quarters stretch. All right, guys, my MVP is two MVPs, Walter Rouse, McCade Mattower. Those guys didn't have anything to gain by playing, only things to lose by playing, but they understood their importance. They understood how short-handed the offensive line would be without them, and they showed up when a lot of guys, we saw guys missing last night. A lot of guys would make the decision not to. So my MVPs, a couple of transfers, man, a couple of dudes who didn't start their careers here, but have ended up being real program guys. Walter Rouse, McCade Mattower.
California transplants at that.
Crazy.
McCade from Cal and Walter from Stanford. All right, Matt, who's your MVP, man?
Yeah, I think honorable mention for everybody here. I think Jackson Arnold, for a hell of a game. But the guy I'm going to give it to, I think you mentioned it, Mace, didn't go out on the best note, but give it to Drake Stoops for a one hell of an OU career, coming back when he didn't have to, right? This was his last year coming in, and ended up probably being the best wide receiver for the last back half of the year. I mean, he was all over the field, making plays, making great catches, when at the beginning of the year and even last year, we're like, hey, this is just a third down guy. If he's our best receiver, what's OU's doing? But honestly, he proved us wrong. And I'm really glad he did. He is OU born and through, even with having his dad kind of being the overhang. I think obviously he's made a name for himself, had a great OU career. So even though it didn't go out with a win, congratulations, Drake Stoops, and all the best for whatever he decides to do after this.
My real MVP is Kip Lewis, just because he was amazing to every point I said, but also my honorable mention MVP, Danny Stutzman, not for his play on the field, but there's a video circulating around. I wish I could give credit to who shot it. I can't remember who it was, but Jackson Arnold's walking off the field. Danny Stutzman sees him, sprints over to him, puts his arm around him, and says, I got you. You can hear it. He says, I got you for life. We're a family. And Jackson immediately drops his head and kind of is sulking and down about it. And Danny's grabbing on his shoulder, walking on the field in his ear, talking to him, trying to lift him up. That's a leader. And that's a dude who's going to be there next year. And Jackson's going to remember that, man. That's the type of shit that matters to a true freshman who just lost a tough game, who probably didn't do everything that he wanted to do. But he needs to know that what you did tonight was good enough. We all got to do it together. And that's what's going to stick with him. So Danny's my MVP for that. Mark, you muted.
That was so good, Mason. You lose that when a guy like Danny opts out.
Yeah.
You lose the connective tissue between team 129 and 130.
Yep.
And because we're going to have it, we'll be that much better off. Great MVP music.
Let us know down below in the comments who your MVP of the game is, who your MVP of the season is. We got a new episode coming up for you next week, the first one in 2024. We look forward to seeing you then. The Oklahoma Sooners finished 10-3 in the 2023 regular season. Folks, we appreciate you being with us on this ride all season long. We're with you every week of the offseason. Stop by, stop in, check in with the program. We're giving you an episode every week. We've done it for the past 3 years now, 2 years now. 3 years, whatever it's been. We'd love for you to join us in the off season. It's a whole lot of fun. We drop fun content every single week. Check us out. Then you can follow us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z. Yeah, Mark, did you have something to add? Okay. Follow us on all of our social media, Program Guys with a Z. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. All of that good stuff. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. That's going to do it. Matt, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.
Go Huskies.
3, 2, 1.